Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be looking at Mythic Legions from Four Horseman Studios. This is an action-adventure, fantasy, sword and sorcery, original universe with original characters. And today we're going to be looking at the Deluxe Gladiator Legion Builder. This figure is specifically designed for you to build out your legions, your armies. You can also do customizing with these figures. You can do all kind of painting and swapping with them, and it gets really, really deep. So let's take a quick look at the rest of the packaging. Four Horsemen, nice purple logo. Quick look at the background story. Some of the figures in this wave. So this has been an entire wave of army builders, of legion builders, and you get a bunch of characters with an amazing assortment of armor and weapon and helmet adornments that you can do all kinds of customizing with. Let's get this guy out of the package. Collector friendly packaging. Slide that off. Accessories bag. Immediate impressions. This figure feels super sturdy, extremely solid and hefty, and the sculpt work is outstanding. Look at this. Here in the back, we have slots for the shoulder pauldrons or other attachments that you can put on the figures, wings, depending on the character or depending on your customizing preferences. Look how beautiful that looks. That is one beautiful accessory, and it just plugs in right here. And once you attach it there, it gives you some movement up or down. So that is really nice in case you have a cape or something down there, or if you want to move the arm, it will go with you, as you see there. So that is really cool. Now it is really paint free. There are no paint applications here. You could keep it the way it is. It has a really nice kind of like stainless steel kind of look to it the way it is, but you could also customize the heck out of this thing, which I intend to do, and that's when it gets really, really fun, you know, especially with a Legion builder like this. It's not a named character per se. You could give it a name, and you could leave it as is, or you could give him a name and customize him, or you could not give him a name. And that's kind of like more menacing. All right, looking at some more of his features here, he has a really, really cool bracer on one arm, and that gives you movement and rotation there. On the other arm, as we could see, he has some detail here along the shoulder. Another really nice armor piece here around the elbow. I'm not familiar with what that's called. And then another twin bracer here on the left hand. And this hand does have the gauntlet over the fist with some more armor detail there down the middle. Really, really nice. His waist piece, some nice armor detail here down the side. The loin piece, which has a peg that you can put right there in that slot. And all of the figures in the line have some variation of this, and it's just great for creating customs and modifying your characters. And then down at the legs, he has bare feet, giving him that real gladiator barbarian look. In terms of weapons, he comes with a shield that has a nice metallic finish to it, but that's most likely going to get covered up if you do a paint application to it and customize it. The handle for the shield can be removed. He has a spear that also has that metallic finish to it, and a sword that is also going to come into play in today's themed comparison. All right, let's look at articulation with our friend here. So you have some really smart articulation on these figures. You have great rotation. You've got tilt and wobble. You've got up, restricted by the back portion of the helmet. You've got down, restricted by the lip here of this particular helmet. At the shoulders, you have 90 degrees and rotation. A single jointed elbow that's going to give you about 90 degrees. You've got the rotation at the forearm, as I mentioned, the rotation at the wrist, On the left hand, you have the horizontal hinge. On the right hand, very cool feature, you have the vertical hinge for holding the sword in a different angle. So that is super cool. Nice detail, nice touch in that asymmetrical feature there with the hands. At the waist, you've got full rotation and you've got wobble to either side. You've got back and you've got forward. One of the best splits in the action figure game. You've got an upper thigh cut that is brilliantly molded there and just feels great as you articulate it. You have single jointed knees that give you full rotation, outstanding, and will give you 90 degrees. You have rotation at the ankle with an outstanding rocker. Great range up, great range down. Really smart articulation on these figures across the board. All right, so let's talk about today's themed comparison. I picked up several of these Deluxe Gladiator Legion builders specifically because I wanted to make a custom action figure using some of the skills that I've learned within the Mythic Legions community, specifically from the Mythic Legions Cabal. So I'm gonna bring the builder over here to this side, and I'm gonna bring in one of my favorite childhood toys. I remember having it briefly, and then I don't know what happened to it. I lost it or something, man. And that was disappointing. I remember the disappointment because I thought this figure was one of the coolest things ever. And I just thought he was just so spooky and tough looking, you know? And having him now as a grown-up on the card is so cool. You know, it's so, so cool. What I have in Mythic Legions is the opportunity to create a custom action figure because Mythic Legions will give you all of the tools you need. Here is the buck. Here is the resource you need. Now go ahead and make yourself the action figure of your dreams. And that's what I wanted to do when I first saw this guy. Try and make my own Dungeons and Dragons Warduke. What I envisioned was trying to match the elements of this figure using Mythic Legions parts. And that's what I did. Side by side, my custom Mythic Legions Warduke from Dungeons and Dragons. As you can see also here in the cartoon image, I used several characters from the Mythic Legions universe to do this. I used some builder characters and some named characters. And so what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to show you really quickly which are the figures that I used to create this match. It's ultimately a Mythic Legions figure. All I did was reorganize the parts that already exist in the universe. To make this character, I used many of the parts from the Gladiator builder. I also used many parts from Mythic Legions Vorthog. So you could see he's missing some of his parts there. He's missing the lower leg here because he had to donate that for my Warduke. He's also missing his left pauldron because that also went to Warduke. And Warduke claimed his loincloth and waist belt. And I did a little painting there to make it more Warduke-esque. I also used, because you get a little bit of everything and you can do so many amazing things with it, and he just looks badass the way he is. But I digress. We got the helmet. The helmet from my Mythic Legions Warduke came from that Barbarian builder, and I just had to do a bit of painting. And then, of course, I did some painting here on the sword. To wrap up today's themed comparison, what I would like to do is I'd like to make another custom Warduke. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to start out by collecting the parts that I need. I'll bring Warduke over here. I will start by taking my pieces off. These figures are designed for customizing, so that was really easy to pull apart. But they're sturdy. They won't come apart unless you give them a super strong tug. All right, so I've got all my pieces separated so that I can give them a nice layer of paint. So let's go ahead and jump into some painting. I am going to skip the painting behind the scenes, but I will give you like some quick looks at what's going on. Just sharing some progress here. I've applied paint to some of the pieces. You're going to see at the joints that there's going to be some flaking when you do customs because of the activity of the joint, you know. The rest of the paint is pretty safe and secure, even as is, but I will apply a matte clear coat. And I haven't done the contrast yet either, so you don't see that detail. Absent here on the helmet, which is much lighter than my completed custom. A few touch-ups to do here. The new pauldron with the red accents. I like how the gold came out here. The gold on the loincloth piece. That was formerly kind of like a red gold or a copper. The belt, I just painted the previously brown belt, I painted it red. The medallions, so I just made it gold. Got to do a touch up here on the belt, make that red. And I also trimmed down these thigh protectors. They were a little bit longer and they covered up the thigh, I thought too much. So I trimmed those back. I've also finished painting up the boot that we're going to swap in. So I'm going to finish up painting and I'll be back to show you the completed parts. Finished. And let's take a quick look at the different pieces and the paintwork. On the upper thigh, I like how that looks on camera. The arm, I like that contrast. Ooh, nice silver. The right bracer. The helmet. And I like this finish better than my original. Quick side by side of both pieces. And I like the new version. It's darker, but it's still clearly blue. You see how it's caught when the light reflects? I like that. I like the contrast. Very nice. This was the right boot that was once upon a time like a steel color, and I've given it a metallized black. Done a little bit of silver on the rivets, here on this little clip, and there gives it that little accent. This was the other foot, and I put gold accents on the rivets here along the harness and along the back. And last but not least, the sword. Very cool. All right, let's put this guy together. So we have our lower torso with the ball peg at the waist. Next, let's put the right leg on. There we go. And we'll attach the new left leg. Get this in here. Bam. And we'll attach the shoulder pauldron, like so. He's looking awesome. All right, and now the moment where he becomes an action figure. Oh yeah. Let's do a side-by-side comparison of two Wardukes. I've learned so much about customizing and about crafts and learning how to paint, learning how to work on diorama pieces. It's been all part of the journey thanks to learning about Mythic Legions, you know, and they do painting lessons on YouTube. There's another one coming up, I think, on August 17th featuring my action figure customs. They'll be doing another painting lesson and I'll definitely be there. Shout out to Jeremy Gerard. He holds the Mythic Conversations YouTube series and he is always giving tips on how to customize figures. And it was months of listening to him and many others and kind of like taking notes that got me geared up and excited for trying to make my first custom. Heck yeah. This was a ton of fun. I'm loving what's going on in the world of action figures these days. It just seems like there's so many cool things on the horizon and so many cool things already out. If you're unfamiliar with Mythic Legions, get involved. If you got any questions, visit some of the channels that I mentioned today in the sharing, or drop in my comments and ask me any questions or anything. And I'll do my best to connect with you. As always, everybody, I'm having a ton of fun taking these times out to share the experience of collecting toys as an adult, and also now the experience of experimenting with toy art and just enjoy what it might feel like to be a toy maker. Could you imagine that? You know, how awesome is that? I hope you're able to keep coming back and share some experiences too. Until next time, everybody, stay creative.